And also, in terms of my team, I have a sales team as well. In terms of my team and how we've gotten sales reps was we leverage LinkedIn for that. So we actually have a software that we use that's able to automatically reach out to people in LinkedIn groups. And we use that to connect with different people in terms of sales on a daily basis and drawing applications as well to build our sales team. So those are some of the strategies that we've used in terms of building our team thus far. I was just going to speak on the team building aspect of things. So, a couple of my team members, which is one over in the corner, Antonio Millhouse, he's a great friend of mine, brother of mine, but not only that, he was a mentee of mine as well, and he was a client of mine at one time. I was helping him actually build an Instagram agency where he basically helped different businesses grow online in terms of Instagram. And he decided to transition out of that and go full time with me, with my online consultancy. And also one of my other clients as well, was one of my clients as well in terms of helping her grow her business. And she decided at one point in time to leave her business because she believed in what I was doing in my vision and transitioned into helping us out. So Antonio and her actually help out with client success in terms of our clients. He also helps out with film and photography, videography, and graphic design for our business. So I can say as well too, you can get team members out of your client base at times. And also in terms of my team, I have a sales team as well. In terms of my team and how we've gotten sales reps was we leverage LinkedIn for that. So we actually have a software that we use that's able to automatically reach out to people in LinkedIn groups. And we use that to connect with different people in terms of sales on a daily basis and drawing applications as well to build our sales team. So those are some of the strategies that we've used in terms of building our team thus far.
Okay, great. We have a question in the chat. We'll just take the first part of it since you all kind of talked about building a team and getting a reliable business partner. If anyone wanted to take that. But what is the process for applying for a patent? Has anyone applied for a patent on the panel? Okay, Ahmad.
It's really simple, actually. You file for something called a provisional patent. For provisional patent, you have to really don't have to lay out all the details. It's really like 3 or 4 A4s worth of scribble. You don't even have to type. You just write it down what you're thinking of. Just make some diagrams and mail it to the U.S. Patent Office, and they give you something called a provisional patent number. I filed for 2, but then I didn't follow up to fight for a full patent because it's costly, it takes time, and it takes a lot of effort and money to defend a patent. So a lot of entrepreneurs, think that, hey, I have an idea, and I'm not going to share my idea with anyone because it's going to change the world. And what I would say to that is, ideas are good, but it's really about execution. So don't be afraid. Go out, talk to people, as many people as you can if you have an idea. Learn as much as you can. Execution is really what's going to differentiate you from anybody else.
Great feedback. Tiara?
I don't have a patent, but I do have a trademark for the Cut Life. And I actually met my attorney for that through Maya. And she specializes in copyright and trademark. So it was a pretty seamless process. It's just a matter of, with trademarks, knowing what categories you want to trademark in. Just because you have a trademark doesn't mean it covers everything. So you have to figure out, what spaces you want to protect based on how your business is currently operating and then how you see it operating, in the future. And the cost, I would say for my trademark was about like $2,500 all in for her filing and just, following up and making sure, everything was protected. And this was actually, I know this sounds silly, but it was kind of fun for me. I had a little trademark battle with a major company. If you've heard of The Cut, it's like a fashion lifestyle magazine that's owned by the New York Times. And The Cut Life is very close to The Cut. And because of social media, they felt like people would confuse us. Although one, I had more followers than them, so that was like my little tiki. And then beyond that, the content that I featured was different. They were, I mean, beauty and fashion definitely relates a lot, but you know, my point of view and what I was featuring was completely different. But I did get contacted by their COO, an attorney, so I had to make like very minor changes to my logo. They were like, if you could just like increase the size of the scissor on the cut life or something. It was something like very minor, and they were, you know, gracious about it. But had to go through that, you know, back and forth. But eventually, I got my trademark completely confirmed. But you know, you never know what you might run into, especially if the name of your business is maybe has common like words in it. Sometimes there can be something out there that you weren't even expecting, and they're like, no, I'm fighting you, you know, for my trademark. So, but yeah, the cost is not, you know, exorbitant. It's not like out of reach, but you know, definitely can save up for it. And search business names before you start like creating your logos and, you know, your imaging and all of that, because then you'll look up and say, oh, I didn't realize this is actually owned by someone else. So you want to search not just your state, but like, you know, nationwide, globally, make sure that the name that you want to carry forward is available.
So all of this can be, I know, a little overwhelming and a little daunting. Even I know some of the students that are actually studying entrepreneurship. So I have an idea, but I'm hearing everyone on the panel, I'm hearing patents and trademarks, and we had a question in the chat about licensing and taxes. So what is my approach? Should I even let this deter me from even getting started? Ahmad, I see you.
I want to go first. I'm pretty passionate about this because the number of people I meet who ask me these types of questions, like it's a lot of people who get caught up in that process and never go beyond it, right? And so, speaking of some facts, right, 80% of businesses out there are not even registered. So by default in America, which I love about this country, is that as an individual, you're a sole proprietor, right? So you can hire people, you can pay taxes, you can run a business, you can make purchases, you can sell stuff, you can file taxes on just your social security number. So you never really have to register as a S corp or C corp or LLC. I think those are things which kind of happen later on, unless you're starting a business where, like, you're a contractor, right? You're building homes. Well, now you're really exposed to liability, and you need to register yourself. But for most of you guys, I don't think you're going to get it. You're pretty tech savvy, right? So don't worry about like registering. Don't worry about trademark. Just make sure the domain is available. You know, if the domain is not taken. And just go at it. Once the money starts coming in and you're a little bit more comfortable and you've got a little bit more time, then yes, go ahead and register and do anything you want to do, but it's not necessary. Don't let that stop you.
You want to add something, Leander? I see you nodding.
I think you hit on the nail, man. I think a lot of people focus on all the wrong things when first starting. I think focus more on getting your first customer. Like when I started my first business, I'm posting on my Instagram stories like, who need a resume? Cash app. I'm not worried about nothing else. And then, you know, I built the website and all that good stuff later, but that was 2.5 months after I already validated my product. So like you can build a simple landing page and just drive traffic to it, reach out to people on LinkedIn. The goal is to prove yourself right. If you can do that, then you know you got a good product.
Spoken from a 30 under 30 Forbes 2019 scholar. So great. So let's see here. And once again, I want to thank you all for attending on today. So brand identity is key when it comes to repeat customers. How would you like people to remember you and your company's brand?
I think for anybody that has a brand or has to work with clients and things like that, you want to be known as a company that works in excellence. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they know that they can trust you, that, you know, when they bring work to you, that it's going to get done and get done in excellence. You know, so that's the key is, you know, when you're building your brand, building your business, is to make sure that everything is done in excellence. So I think before anything else, that's what, you know, whatever it is that you do, just do it in excellence.
I want to hear from everyone. What's your take on it, Gerald?
Yeah, I would say for us, client obsession, which is one of our core values, so we obsess over our clients' results as we help businesses grow. So definitely client obsession, integrity, right? Basically doing the things we say we're gonna do for our clients. It's just like my man just said here, strive for excellence. Being the best at our craft and what we do in terms of delivering the results that our clients want. So I would say that's what our brand identity be centered around, yeah.
Great. So here, what about you?
My brand is all about community, just a safe space, especially for Black women. A lot of times in beauty, you know, we set the trends, but not always credited for those trends. So I just wanted to make sure that anyone, you know, that enjoys the content and what we do feels celebrated, feels amplified in a positive manner. And I definitely like to keep, you know, the conversations that happen on my platform, you know, positive. And that's really the main thing, is just building that community, a sense of community.
Yeah.
I think mainly like getting results. I think a lot of people, you know, have services and products, but maybe not execute all the time or like deliver. So I think, you know, people pay for results at the end of the day. And if you don't get the results, they're not happy. So I think if you focus on that, you'll see success in business.
Mine is making projects look beautiful, because that's really why people come back. The communication part is really the skill set part. So whether you're doing something for friends and family, you treat it like a business. Like I used to edit funerals for my parents and for other people, but then that helped me with my storytelling when I used to work with Make-A-Wish all the time. So it's like the same skill set. So it really comes to communication and being able to, that feeling of creativity that you feel in your heart, being able to translate that. So like, what software is that? What transition is that? What music is that? So really just like, it really is about your skill set, especially because like I'm an introvert, so I do things like I work in CAP, but really my work speaks for itself, so it makes it easier, so I don't have to talk as often because I put it all into my work. So I would say if you're creative, it's about really being the best. And you all are in college. This is where I kind of learned the most and ask as many questions as possible and just kind of baby step it. And so and you'll be where I am. So.
Great. Ahmed, who was next?
I think I'm next. What do you want to go next?
Oh, no, I was like,
Yeah, I was going to say, like, like the world we live in is so connected with globalization and everybody having internet and social media. There's just so much competition, you know, out there. So there was a time, like, in the internet, you could build a mediocre product and buy a bunch of backlinks and hack your way through search engine optimization and be on the first page of Google, right? Not anymore. And so just think about like how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else, because most likely whatever you're going to do, there are people out there that are already doing it. So just find your niche or the value prop, if you will, that makes you different.
Okay, great. So my last question to everyone on the panelists, and I'll start with Tahira here. Looking back, what is the one thing you would have done differently?
Let's see. The one thing, and I've had this happen in a couple of businesses, was enter a partnership too early. I had maybe 3 business partnerships. One was like a play part, it wasn't like a real partnership. But the other 2, yeah, they were partnerships that I really didn't need. And I think maybe some of that was based on fear and thinking that, oh, it's not enough for me to just like go forward with this idea, that I need support next to me. And you do get support in different ways. Like we've talked about the team building or just the support you have from family, friends, and people that are interested in what you do. But I realized that I didn't necessarily need a partner. In some situations you do, but you have to really evaluate what that partner is bringing to the table. And is it gonna make sense for the business and not just sort of this fear of wanting to hold someone's hand as you journey, you know, through what you're trying to do.
Thank you for addressing that, because that was one of the questions that we had in our chat, so thank you for that. Leander?
Yeah, I think one thing I would do differently if I started today is focus on one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like one customer, one product, one social channel to acquire those customers, and just doing that alone, I think you'll find a lot of success because you're not scrambling all over the place. I think a lot of people focus on like, hey, I need to post on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, all this at the same time, and it's quite overwhelming, to be honest. So focus on, like, do your research and figure out where your audience or where your ideal customer is hanging out the most, and master that one channel. So like my number one platform is LinkedIn. I do a lot of B2B. It's the number one B2B channel, so I'm focused all my energy on posting content on LinkedIn, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. And then once I master that, then I move on to probably YouTube, and then TikTok, Instagram. But I would say focus on one thing first. Focus on getting that first customer and really dial into your product.
Thank you for that, Bianca. He also addressed one of our other questions about finding out the social media platform that's best suited for your business. Maya?
I probably would have asked more questions about finance, so I could learn about saving for taxes, saving for my business, because I was always so focused on skill and integrity. So when I would get paid for a project, I would pay my crew first. And then I'm like, I'll just eat the cost, but it's like, well, don't eat the cost.
Because you gotta eat.
Exactly, so then I would have to charge more. But you know, as a creative, we don't think about finances. It's just like, it'll come, it'll happen, but I realized I had to be more intentional about it. And I really learned that until like 10 years in,
So she's helping you out early, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
knowing your worth. That's probably been a big battle for me, is knowing that what I'm bringing to the table is not just, like, people try to put a price on what you do. You know, I've been in the game for over 20 years. I've produced nationally syndicated shows for over 15 years. And that comes at a price for somebody else who's trying to come and needs me to help them, you know? And so it's like, know your worth. I'll never forget one of my clients turned into a coach for me. I gave her my price for her podcast, and she looked at it, and she's like, oh, okay, thank you. And this will be the last time you charge anybody this little amount, okay? And I was just like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, we're not gonna do this number anymore. I'll take it, but nobody else after me is gonna take this number because you're way better than this number. And I'm just like, oh, because, yeah, no, the worst thing you can hear is when you tell somebody your price, and they say, okay. That's like whenever I hear like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, ooh, that price should have been more. You know what I'm saying? When they're okay with the price you give them, and they're not trying to haggle you a little bit, it's like, yeah, I'm probably selling myself a little too short here. So, you know, knowing your worth is, and having a business plan. I just went in there willy-nilly. I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do this, we'll do that, you know, and just kind of do that. But if I actually went in with a plan, with a good price point, I probably set myself up for more success later on.
Thank you. Good advice. Gerald?
For me, building a team a lot faster, eliminating the delegating, because in the beginning stages, and not just the beginning stages, for a while, I was doing pretty much everything in my business: marketing, sales, customer success, customer service, handling accounting, finances, I mean, everything. And I would say for me, I would have started to hire a whole lot faster. Once I had certain systems and processes, you know, in place for my business, be able to pass on to others. That's what I would have did.
Okay. And Ahmad?
Yeah, for me, I think it's just, I wish I started earlier in life, because it's going to take a long time. And you're going to pivot, maybe fail a few times along the way. So the earlier start the process, you know, the better, I guess.
Great. So that ends our session on today. Let's give our panelists a hand for taking time out of their busy schedules. And so on the next screen, we're going to have some resources.
Are we taking any questions from students?
Well, since we kind of got started late, but we'll take probably 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone have a question in the audience? Go right ahead.
I actually have a question for you, Maya. Do you prefer a smaller team or a larger team? And then also, I was curious if you're looking for interns right now.
I'll give you my producer's information, because as a director now, I don't really hire crew anymore, but I will do it with my directors, with my producers. And then you said as far as the team goes?
Yeah, like, do you prefer a small team or just like you have a lot of people working?
I prefer the best So if it's like, I only need 4 people and we're all very strong, so it depends on the project. Like say for a music video, yes, you're gonna need more people. But now as a director, I just focus on my core, my cinematographer, my AD, my colorist, production designer. And usually I'm the editor on all my projects. So I just really hone in on like making sure that that core team for me has the vibe. And then after that, the producer hires like the other 60 people. But for Nickelodeon, I do their internal sizzle reels. So it's me, which I'm the editor, an animator, and a graphic designer. Oh yeah, and I had a sound designer this time too, so it's 4 of us. So you really base it on the project that you have, so that way you aren't just like, over-promising or just hiring people and just giving out money.
Any more questions?
Yeah, so I heard a few of you guys talk about fear, and according to the textbook, fear is the #1 cause of failing businesses. I was wondering, how did you guys get over that fear factor? Because I know that's one of a lot of entrepreneurs' phobia starting out.
I get it first and go out the way. So that's my fear. I'm pretty shy. So you just learn how to do things with your stomach and knots. Like even now, I always have clients tell me I need to contact them more. So I'm just like, I don't want to bug you. But sometimes you get nervous and you don't want people to think that you have the wrong intentions about stuff. So my clients are like, so Kelly Rose and her husband have been vetting me for a minute. So they had to tell me just last week, you need to call us more. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to bug you. But it's kind of like that thing, because I think being a creative, you do get more introverted. So you just learn what it takes to today, before I came here, I'm just like, hey, my armpit's gonna be sweaty, and it's all right. You just get used to that feeling,
Right.
and you do it
Cold
anyway
sweats.
because you don't want to the regret part is what gets me. I hate to be like, dang, I should have said something, because you never know what could have came of it. So just get used to being uncomfortable. It never really goes away. You just kind of know how to get through it.
Great advice. Anybody else want to chime in on the panel?
Sometimes you get to sit in your fear a little bit, because sometimes that fear kind of guides you into the right direction. I'll say that because I believe that everybody up here, there's still a little fear in what we do and everyday activities that we do with our business. So there's always gonna be a little bit of fear, a little bit of apprehension, but sometimes you gotta sit in and figure out whether or not the fear is worth not doing what you want to do. So, analyze the fear, figure out why that fear is making you feel that way, and then think about what happens if it goes wrong. What do I have to lose? Once you understand those things, then you can pretty much either understand the fear and put it away, or listen to the fear and say, you know what, that fear is what I needed, not to go down this wrong path.
Great advice. One last question. Go right ahead.
So you guys all seem to have known you wanted to be entrepreneurs relatively early, but you all went into different careers for that. And I guess coming out of college myself, I was graduating soon and having to start looking into different internships and stuff. How do you know what companies to partner with when you know that you want to be an entrepreneur yourself?
I would say maybe not focus so much on which company to partner with versus which skills you want to learn. That's really what it is. It's all exploratory. I was all over the place with internships. I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry starting out, but I didn't know exactly which lane to take. And a lot of times, from the outside looking in, you see the talent. You see the people that are on your screen or that you're listening to in the radio, but you don't realize there's thousands of jobs behind the scenes, and you don't really know until you get in there. So I feel like it's okay to be in an internship and maybe do that for 3 months, 6 months, and then you might switch and say, okay, I want to maybe even within that same company go into different departments or go to a completely different company overall. When I was at Hot 107.9, I was there for maybe a year, and Emperor Cersei, who was a DJ at the time, he was one of the owners of B&B Recordings with Little John and their team, and I was like, oh, you have a record label? That's kind of cool. I've been at the radio station long enough. Can I intern for you? And it just kind of happened like that. So I don't think you should just get that caught up, and then just look at where the opportunities are, what's going to be best for your lifestyle, the demands of the internship, because that may, you have to interview them as well, and that might shift where you decide to end up. But one place doesn't have to be the end all be all. You can have your list and say, well, I'm gonna start here, see how it goes, and then bounce around. You know, you're not gonna have your internships on a resume, so it's not gonna really, you know, affect you in that way.
And I think if you listen to like all of our stories, for the most part, we all went through the regular jobs, and it kind of led us to what we wanted. You know, so coming out of college, I was not thinking about entrepreneurship at all, whatsoever. I just wanted to work in the field that I was going to school in. And so, and then I went into radio right away. Out of college, graduated college in May, and I was producing the morning show by October. You know what I'm saying? So there was no real in between for me. So when you get into a field that you're interested in, and then you can kind of start working off of that. Like I said, you'll find out what you want to work in entrepreneurship-wise when you really find your passion. Because sometimes your passion isn't where you are right now. Sometimes that passion hits you later. You know, so once you find that passion, what you want to really get into, or once you find that expertise in something that you get, that's where the business and entrepreneurship comes into place.
Great. So our last question for our panelists, if you can share, what's next for you guys? I know Leander mentioned something about Oklahoma. We'll start with you, and if you guys can just tell us what's next on the horizon, if you want to promote your product or your websites, we have your websites listed here. Just give us a little taste about what's coming up next.
Yeah, so like I mentioned when I first started, that Ricey is an all-in-one business solution. We just raised our seed round of $2 million from Collab Capital, Tinto Capital, and Bolster, like a couple of accelerators, so Visible Hands and Expert Dojo. So part of our deal with Tinto is that we have to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to try to like rebuild Black Wall Street. So we got to hire people in Tulsa. It's actually a thing called Tulsa Remote that they're giving you like 10,000 to move out of Tulsa. And I actually just came back to Tulsa. It's actually not that bad. Like